Hello guys, good morning. Good morning so much. My name is Ali Ture, QuantumNet Institute of Technology. As you all may know, I met you guys before, I think, before we go for this lockdown. It is unfortunate that we have to take things this way. And I understand that you guys had some classes with Bojang on some of the tools of Adobe. So I'll take you guys through Illustrator, like we promised before, and InDesign. So basically, Illustrator and InDesign is what I should be taking you guys through. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing this simply because we have the pandemic that is affecting the entire world, and that's why we cannot come have on-site classes. So therefore, we'll have to come together and do things online. So these videos will be made available, and if you guys have any questions, you can write through the YouTube channel, or you can communicate to us through the WhatsApp group, or you can even directly communicate to me if you have problems. So we start with that. So guys, I'm gonna have to take you guys through here. The first thing is Adobe graphic design tools. So you guys would see that I have 3 design tools here that are basically used for raster and vector designs. But then these are not the only tools that Adobe has. They have different tools, but basically these are the 3 tools that we use here. And the advantage of you doing this course with QuantumNet Institute of Technology is that we give you all this. Okay guys, we give you Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. We give you all of these things, and plus Corel Draw. If you go to other institutions, you will do this as a course, like Photoshop, then you do Illustrator as a course, you do InDesign as a course, and Corel Draw as a course. Or maybe you will just have one and the others are not available. So here we give you full package from Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, and Corel Draw at a very good price. So this is very good for all of us to, it's a very good opportunity for you guys to be great designers, to be versatile designers, because if for instance you say, okay, we need a designer, a Photoshop expert, you say, okay, I can do it. And they say, okay, we need Illustrator designer, you say, I use Illustrator, I understand InDesign, I understand Corel Draw. You are versatile, you become important. So these are basically the graphic design tools that we use. And please guys, if you have any questions, do communicate to me directly, or you can communicate to Bojang. So let's just look at these applications. Let's look at their difference. Let's look at when do we use them. Okay, when do we use these applications and how do we use them? Okay, one could say, okay, maybe why not that I could only use Photoshop to do all that Illustrator can do, or to do all that InDesign can do? No, it is quite different. They all have different ways that they do. You would see something here: raster image, vector image, desktop publisher. So they all have different uses. Okay, what you can use Photoshop for, it will be best if you use in Illustrator. Okay, you can use Photoshop to do whatever you have here in Photoshop. Okay, but it will be best if you use Illustrator to do these things. So what are some of the things that you use Photoshop for? Is when you're dealing with photos. Okay, you want to, there's a photo that you received, you don't like maybe the image size, you want to resize it, or maybe if there are any things that you want to do with the image, maybe you want to add or reduce some few animations or whatever, you use Photoshop because it is best for that. It is best for artworks, like you want to design fireworks, you want to design anything that is boom, you understand? So you can use Photoshop for any crazy design. You can use web graphics. You know, if you want to design something that you put on the website and stuff like that, that will catch the eye of viewers, best option is use Photoshop. Or you want to create mockups. That is, if you create a design here on Illustrator and you want the background to look so catching, you can design the logo and then you make it in a mockup here. So you can create mockups using Photoshop, and then you can, it is very difficult for you guys to get Photoshop mockups from online. You have to pay for it. But if you understand Photoshop, you can be able to create your own mockup. So maybe I would try to get a video for you guys how to create mockups and how to create a logo and have it match with a markup. That is a very important thing, because markups make your your designs look needy and makes it makes it neat and clear. Sorry for needy, I mean neat. So some of the features with with Photoshop are you work more with layers. Okay, you work with layers, you work with image adjustment, animations, and so on and so forth. Those are some of the things that you do with Photoshop. Now let's move to Illustrator quickly. My part here is to take you guys through Illustrator. But I just need to make a quick rundown on the different uses of these three applications that we have here. I do not bring in CorelDRAW, because CorelDRAW does all of this. CorelDRAW can do all of this, and it is purely vector art. So whatever you can do with any of these three, you can do it basically on CorelDRAW. So that's why I said, okay, let me just bring these three and compare and contrast them for easy understanding for you, the students. So logos are best designed using Illustrator. Mascots, you have designs that you want to do, you can use those designs with Illustrator. Icons, best one. And one-page documents, you can use this Illustrator for this kind of things. You can even do Illustrator, you can use Illustrator for more than this. You can design, let's say for instance, your CV, that is your resume. You can design hospital flyers. You can design a lot of things with Illustrator, because it is a vector and Photoshop is raster. So in my next slide, you guys, I will have to take you through the difference between raster images and vector images. So these are some of the features. It uses vector shapes, whilst this one uses raster images. So we'll have to understand the difference between vector and raster. InDesign is mainly, we use it for publishing. Okay, for instance, we have magazines that we want to design, or newspapers, newsletters, or whatever. The best is used InDesign, because it works with documents, it works with publishing information and all that. That is the best one. It uses master pages, automatic pages, numbers, and type settings. This is something that it does. So when we come to InDesign, the major feature of InDesign is this: master pages. You have to understand master pages, master it purely, to make sure that you understand InDesign properly. Okay guys, so the use of Illustrator. I'll have to know, when do I use Illustrator? Because we are going to do Illustrator. So why would I use Illustrator instead of Photoshop for this job that I want to do? Why would I use InDesign? Why would I use Illustrator? Now we need to know. So basically, I will not need to take you guys through all those things. Okay, I will not take you through all those so many things. What I will do is, I am going to put you guys through only Illustrator and tell you guys why would you use Illustrator. I personally enjoy Illustrator, but it does not mean that it's the best tool for all the other jobs. Basically, what you use Illustrator for is when you're designing logos, icons, or brand mascots. They're very, very good, because Illustrator uses vector, and those vectors uses shapes and lines. Okay, so illustrators can blow up to any size. Okay, so that is the difference between vector art and raster images. Okay, vectors, you can stretch a design. For instance, if I design as a mascot or I design a logo, I can stretch. If I can print this on a very, very large background. Let's say for instance, I can stretch it from here to Basay. The image quality would still remain the same, because it uses lines and shapes. This is different from raster image. So it makes Illustrator more ideal for images that need to be used in many different ways. Another reason for me to use Illustrator is when I want one-page print pics. They're perfect for posters, business cards, flyers, and note cards. So Illustrator is basically used mainly for these things. You want to deal with flyers, you want to deal with postcards or posters. Very, very good for that. They're powerful vector tools to create visual punchy headlines that can be combined with other raster images. Let's say for instance, you can design in Photoshop and bring it right here in Illustrator Media, make your final finishing to make sure that the image is vector. You need to set type for a logo. Okay, that's very good, because it's good for typing. You can set typing and change the format of that type. Let's say for instance, it has what we call expand. Okay, so that expand can change the format of the text, so it makes it an image. You can design that photo, that typing or that letter into something meaningful, something so eye-catching. So those things you can do it with Illustrator. You can change the format, so enabling any text to be transformed into a fully editable shape that can be stretched, skewed, and transformed any way imaginable, looking for perfect logo type. So you can design logos using letters or anything that you choose. The best option is use Illustrator. Hi guys, so I take you guys through the difference between graphic and raster images. So yeah, these are the difference. So you can see that this is versus and that is versus. So raster image difference with vector is that with raster images, what they do is that it uses pixels, and those pixels are seen in form of squares. So when you stretch it, you will see that those squares will begin to soar in your image. So you can see even here, this versus, those squares begin to soar out, because with Photoshop, they use the best option is use Photoshop, and Photoshop uses what? A raster image. And what raster images does is that when you stretch, their original ratios will change, their original format will change based on the number of times that you stretch it. So if you're working on a document, like for instance you type VS, and then with Photoshop you want to stretch it and stretch it longer or bigger than what you had previously, it blurs. But with vector, the image size remains the same irrespective of whether you stretch it from here to Basay. It may look big, but still it will look the same way that you design it. It will not blur. With raster images, they blur if you stretch them. They're not good for that. So raster images, like I explained before, they are made up of pixels, and those pixels are single point of smallest individual elements in a display device. So if you zoom raster images, they tend to distort. They tend to change their format. They tend to change the way they were. So that is why it is not vital. It's not useful in images. When you know that you're going to print posters that are going to be on billboards or signposts on the streets, big ones, Photoshop is not an ideal version for that, because if you stretch it bigger than this normal size that you have, then you begin to see deterioration in the quality of the image. So the common raster files types that you have when you're saving is PNG, JPEG and JPG, GIF, TIFF, and PSD. Okay, so these are basically the different types of image types or image sizes for raster images or file types. And for vector, this is a different type. Vector images use mathematical calculations. You would say, okay, these are the number of points, or these are the number of whatever pixels or whatever that is here, calculated and give you exact amount that you need, irrespective of whether you stretch it from here, you zoom it anyhow. Vector images remain the same. They don't change, they don't move, they don't blur. They always the same type. So common vector types of images are AI, Illustrator, PDF, SVG, and Sketch. So guys, that is what we have, a quick rundown of the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator. So basically what I will do is to take you guys through let's say Illustrator, so you guys understand Illustrator very well. So basically this is what we do. We start Illustrator. So in order for you to use Illustrator in this video, I would show you guys how to start your Illustrator. Then my next video would, just not to make the videos long for those of you that are using internet or at home. We understand that it is very difficult for you guys to have connections from that far distance. So what I will do is just to take you guys through this Illustrator, the environment, how to start it, and how to save document. That is what I will do, and maybe in my next video I will show you guys how to use the tools, okay, all the tools that are available in Illustrator. So guys, what you do is when you install your Illustrator, the first time you do is when you open it, the image on your desktop, this is what you have. So you create, you click on create new, and that will bring you one window, and then you make your settings on that window. So because I'm using Illustrator, my device is not very fast. So this is what we have with Illustrator. You have different page types. So here, this is what we have. Okay, when you are designing with Illustrator, you can set where you want this, or where this document is going to be viewed. If you know that what you are designing will be viewed on mobile phone, you choose this. If you think it's web, you choose that. If you think it's printable, if it is document that you are designing that should be printed, the best thing is choose print and make your settings. If it is going to be on films and add illustrations, the best is choose those ones. So right now, the image that I am going to create, or the document I'm going to create or design, will be printed. So I will click on print, and then what page type do I need to work with? Is it later? Is it for A4 size, A3, or any type of A size document that I want to work with? I choose it here. So for instance, I want to go with A4. I'll click here, but your details, now you have to set from here what is going to be the name of your document. So normally it is untitled 1, untitled 2, 3, like that. So best you can do is give a name to your document. So the name for my document will be Ture. Alright, so maybe I'm going to type Ture as my document name. So first you can do is set the width of your document. By default, if you click on A4, it will give you the actual size and point. So I do not work with points, instead I work with pixels. So I click on this drop down button and choose pixels. So I'm going to work with pixels. So if I want, I can just leave this size. If I want, I can just increase it based on what I want. The orientation is landscape and portrait. So the document you have, if it is going to be portrait, fine. If you want it in landscape, fine. So you can do that. And also you can work with multiple artboards at the same time with Illustrator. Okay, that's the nice thing about Illustrator. You can have more than one page to work on. And most of the time, designers use this, make it multiple, if they want to design documents that look alike. For instance, you are designing a business card that has 2 sides, so it will be necessary if you have something like that. So guys, this one is bleed. Bleed is to set a margin for your document. This is what you want. You want my document size to not exceed this region or this area of the page. You can set your bleed. So, but I'm not needing that right now. I don't need to set a bleed. But if you set a bleed, you would put a margin where you would have your work stopped. You can use a minus or a plus, or you leave it like it is. So first, what I do is I just set these settings, and then I just click create. I have my Illustrator launched. Okay. Hello guys, so this is what we have. My device is not as fast as you may think. So even though I will try to be as precise as I can. So that is it, guys. I have my my Illustrator open right here. So these are my menus, and that is my ribbon. So I can use these tools right at the left here. These are my tools that I will use. Those are my Illustrator tools, and these are my window tools. So they're right here. If there is any tool that you do not have at the first time use, you will not have anything here. Or maybe if you will have, it will be just few. So what you do is add these tools right from this window here. So if you click at the top here, that is what we call window. And okay, guys, I have to resize this because I understand that my document is not as like that. So this is what I do. I am just going to move it like this so that I have that size. Good. So you guys can see what I have here. So basically, this is what I do. You can click on window to add anything to the windows here. So that is a very good thing. So you can see all the tools are here. So you can just make any adjustments. If there is anything that you don't see, you just add here. So all the tools are right here. You can add them here. So if there's any tool that you do not have here, you have to make sure that you click it so it comes here. You embed it right here, because they are very important tools. Alright, so those are some of the other tools, like your swatches and so on and so forth. When you want to deal with colors, they are all right here. With Photoshop, you guys would see that you were using layers. In Illustrator, you do not need to use layers unless if you want to do some freestyle movements, or you want to do some freestyle designs. You can use those things. You can use the layers. But in Illustrator, you don't need to use those things. You can just click on an image, move it, click this image, move it anywhere. So you can just click and move. That is not possible with previous Photoshop. But even with Photoshop now, you can do it. You don't need to work with layers in Photoshop. You can design everything in Photoshop without using your layers if you just know how to use Photoshop. Okay guys, so these are basically the tools that I have, and we will have to understand each and every tool right here. So that is our video, and what I will do is I'll just make it short. I will just stop here from the introduction to graphic design. I'll make another video just today to introduce you guys to some of these tools right here, because you have to understand these tools in order for you to be able to be a good, in order for you to be a good designer or illustrator designer, you'll have to understand these tools. Okay guys, I see you in my next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this portion of the video, or I'll see you in the next video. If you have any questions, do ask questions through the YouTube channel, or you can yet still write to us through our WhatsApp page. If you have any questions, you have any doubt, anything that you want us to add onto this thing, just let us know, and we'll have to make sure that we give you what you need, because we are here for you, and we hope that you enjoy us, and we enjoy you, you learn from us, and we give you what we have. Okay, bye bye guys, I see you in my next video. Bye bye.